A very good morning to you on this 20th day of November. It's a Thursday morning and we are broadcasting from the Bay on this channel. If you've reached us, then you've reached the fifth connection, a channel on which we are given to talking you through the storyline of the scriptures. And this morning we are in Ephesians chapter 5 and part 2 of verse number 16. It was that bard of yesteryear, William Shakespeare, who said, "Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come." Love's not time's fool. Love trucks along. It really is the supreme ethic, even though the context of the sonnet is all about romantic love. But it doesn't bend to time, nor does time bend to love. Time just ticks along. And in the section of scripture that we are looking at, the unfolding story talks about how that deep, teachable moments are what need to be captured. We need to use it for every bit of transformation that it can afford us. So from chapter 5, verse number 1, all the way to 6, verse 9, it talks about the field of relationality. I've entitled this section Relational Varieties because it's within the field of relationality that you and I are afforded deep, teachable moments. Deep, teachable moments that exist inside of relationships. And that's what we need to capture. We need to use it for every bit of discipline and habitudes that it can afford us. We are in verse number 16. I gave you some background to verse 16 yesterday as we looked at chronos time, chronological time, and kairos time, kairotic time. The two are quite different. The one is sequential. It's sort of tied to our watches, the grandfather clock. But kairos time would be those opportune moments where things happen at a very specific juncture that if they are not utilized, they become very significant moments that are lost. And I'm wondering that if we are not there in Western culture, as Western culture taught us, I would suggest it needs to die in order to rise again. Oh, we are so bent on keeping alive old wineskins. And Western culture's impact has been huge on the planet, like no other civilization in the world in human history. But we are holding on. Maybe we're choking the life out of it. The last time I checked, the biblical pattern has to do with dying and rising. Dying and rising. Order out of chaos. Restoration out of disorder. And could it be that this entity needs to die its natural death? But at the same time, there are the pangs of dying that come along with it that are extremely painful. But could we be at a kairotic moment like that in our own country? We see some of the developments that are rolling out in this nation of ours, both at an economic and a political level. And I would suggest even at an assembly level, the ecclesial level. The people of God need to let go of what they are egoically attached to. A civilization that has run its course and allow a new civium, a new kind of citizen to rise, one that imbibes biblical values. And so in this chapter, starting in verse number 1 of chapter 4 already, the writer is setting us up for the beauty of war, which comes right at the end of the book in 6:10 to 24. But in order to understand the beauty of war, we need to understand that we need to walk with high values in mind. The axioms of life, what is truly true, what is self-evident. That's the word axios. Walk worthy. Walk according to axiomatic values, values that become and are self-evident. And when people see it, they'll know it to be the real thing. They can't argue it away. So walk worthy, and then walk in love. Walk with high affordance of choice. Doesn't end there. It goes on to walk in light. Become an enlightened one. One who's wake up. That's an idiom here in the Western Cape. You must be wake up. Quite grammatically incorrect, but that's how language goes, right? And we are quite asleep. We have taken soporifics. We have taken sleeping pills to anesthetize our soul to what we are struggling with. And now from verse number 18 onwards, the writer is going to talk about walk in wisdom, walk with high skill. And high relational skill is required to navigate the days we live in. And so watch what verse number 16 says. Watch how you walk, not as those void of skill, but as skillful. Verse 16, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Making the best use of the time. We need to sacrifice for, we need to seize the moment wisely in using chronological duration. That's what time is, chronological duration. The clock is ticking. We're becoming more and more mindful that we ain't gonna live forever, at least in this life. So sacrifice for it, seize it, make the best use of it. Live life to the hilt. Throttle out every inch of vitality you can out of life and living. But as we grow older, we start to cower in the shadows because our energies are going, both physically and mentally. But it ain't over until God says it's over. Why are we to make the most use of time, of the time that we've been given? Because the chronological indicators induce in us the temptation, listen to this now, the temptation to swerve from the strictures of the way. I will repeat that. Making the best use of the time because the days are evil has to do with sacrificing, seizing, using these chronological durations, because the indicators, the chronological indicators, the time indicators induce in us. They have an allure. They tempt us. They induce the temptation to swerve from what? The strictures of the way. The way is not a loose thing that has got no order to it and no telos or telos to it, no purpose to it, no design outcome to it. This way is flowing. The ebb and the flow of life is flowing to a design outcome. There is a purpose to it. And when we swerve outside of the strictures of the way, the path that is the way, the true and living way, as it is typified and incarnated in the one who is our identity transformation. He's none other than the risen Lord. He's given us a picture. He's left us a template of what walking this way is all about. Moving inside of time. Seizing every moment, which becomes a teachable moment, an aha moment, what I call a halogenic spark. A halogenic spark is a teachable moment where the lights go on, and the lights go on all the time. We so asleep, we're not even watching for those teachable moments, because we go through our life in the fourth stage of anesthesia with soporific attendance, fast asleep. And then we wonder, where did life come from? And where did life go? Oh yeah, 70 years and 10 is not long. It just seems as if the moment you're living in is long. But the challenge from this text has to do with living wisely, walking with great skill as you navigate your life, and living it in an improvisational way, the way a musician can improvise according to the melody that is running in the song of life. He's weaving his way musically in and out, up and down, back and forth in between those notes, providing harmony according to the melody. No note played out of tune. And life's like that. Sometimes we think our lives are totally out of sync and out of tune, but it's because we are not awake. We are walking in our sleep. Walk with great skill, making the best use of time, because the days are evil. The days are evil. They are bent on getting us off the way. Off of the way that is Christ. So seize the moment. Sacrifice for it. Do your utmost to be personally, voluntarily sacrificing for the opportunities that come your way and making the most of them, because the chronological indicators along the way, the messages I get that I'm growing older, that my mental prowess is not as great as it used to be 40 years ago, that I'm not as good looking as I used to be, or as shapely as I used to be. It induces the temptation. That is what induces the temptation to swerve from being a follower of the way, from following the strictures of the way. And that's where we are this morning, pretty much, as we look at the biblical text in terms of where we are at. How's your life been over the past 24 hours? You say, well, life sucks. Well, if there are kairos moments that are passing you by, you better start waking up to what the source of all being is doing in your life and in your heart and in your soul. That's the challenge of the hour this morning. I trust that as you go with God, you will enjoy Him today as you are on the lookout for opportunities to live out your best life. I trust that you will enjoy the day as you go with God. Goodbye for now.